Greetings, friends.
My name is Steve Kelsey.
And I'm Ron Leota, and this is The Roles We Play, the show about the roles we play in the games we love. On the show today, we are talking about tools to keep playing during quarantine. Without further ado, let's start the show. All right, so apparently we're still in a quarantine.
Yeah.
I thought this was supposed to be over in like a month. Somebody said it wasn't a big deal. Apparently that was bullshit.
Yeah, it's not good. We have to take special precautions to do this.
Yeah.
And
we're part of our quarantine group, effectively.
Yeah, essentially. And even then, there's like isolation pre and post kind of stuff. But it's honestly easier than us doing it over a voice chat. I was like, I would rather spend a week to 2 weeks seeing nobody else.
Are you a shut-in too? Yeah, I'm a shut-in. Okay, I think it'll probably be safe since neither of us really leave our houses.
Yeah, exactly. But that, even though we're going to be in a tabletop campaign together, a two-person tabletop, though fun, not necessarily optimal, and also very uncommon. Usually you want a group, and that's hard to do with quarantine going. But fortunately, there are tools and the internet to connect us to tabletop and to role play with each other. And I use them heavily at this point. I can't believe I'm DMing 3 campaigns simultaneously.
That's on you. You chose that.
Honestly, I just reached out to someone, and there might be potentially a 4th.
Oh, come on, dude.
It's not definitely going to happen. And then I'm playing in another one. But being a player is at this point like the biggest vacation I could give myself.
Right?
I just have to know my character sheet and kind of review my notes from last session for 5 minutes. What a gift.
I'm finding as that perpetual DM that now that I'm actually playing in a game for the first time in years, like I'm over preparing. I have fucking spell flashcards ready. I've got all this shit, and I'm just like, why are you prepping this much? It's one guy with 6 spells.
Well, that gets us into one of the tools. So I'll start with mine.
Okay, go for it.
And then we'll go to yours. Gets us into one of the tools that you can use to better play D&D that wouldn't require you to do your own physical flashcards or stuff like that. This podcast is not sponsored by D&D Beyond, but I'm going to talk about it. Nor any of these, as far as I know, any of these things.
No, we do not have sponsors. Are you kidding me?
We don't have sponsors.
This is sponsored by NordVPN.
No, not
They're
not
sponsoring
so much.
Everybody.
They're sponsoring the internet, them and
Audible.
Squarespace. Audible, Squarespace, NordVPN.
No sponsors.
Manscaped.
That is on everything.
Got to get that new pube trimmer. Anyway, this is about D&D Beyond, and that's D, N is in Nancy, D, Beyond.com. It is what I use to manage my current 3 campaigns, I guess, now. It's what I use to manage my 3 campaigns as a dungeon master. I'm at its higher tier so that I can share out my books. You can buy your books digitally through it. Then that gives you all of that things. It is a paid service. So for people that are really strapped for money, I don't necessarily think it's the best service if you're trying to be a DM. If you're trying to be a player, however, if I open up a campaign and I, set up the campaign and then invite a player with a D&D Beyond account to it, I am then able to share everything I have purchased to that player. So it is very convenient for that in the way that only very much like a real D&D campaign, only the DM has to own all the books.
Yeah,
and the players can pay nothing.
As a player in one of your D&D groups, I am coming to learn how handy that is, because I was like, well, shit, I don't have any of these books. As I'm looking at D&D Beyond as a player, I'm like, I can't even select options for my character sheet. And you're like, hold my digital beer.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden now I have every book.
But the big keys to it is that, so it's got campaign mode, which is basically for that. It's to group some players from other accounts into your thing. Right now during the pandemic, if you use one of the paid accounts, you just have unlimited characters. If you're in a free account, I think you have like 6 that you can make, so you can still do it. If that number is lower right now, it's been a while since I've had a free account. If that number is lower, just make multiple accounts. They don't care. But the bigger keys is that the character creator is pretty smooth. It gives you a digital sheet, like so many of the services do. Everything has pop-up highlights, so all those spells you were talking about as a bard, just go to your either your actions or your spells in a sub-menu. You just hover over it. It tells you exactly what the spell does and everything, so you don't have to go flip pages or look up anything. But more importantly, as a dungeon master, it has encounter and combat built into it. Now, the encounter builder is in beta, and the combat is in alpha, but they both work. And so in the encounter and combat, you can build your encounter, which gives you access to all the monster things. It gives you the challenge ratings. It adds them together. You can search them, add them to the encounter list. If you're running multiple campaigns like me, you're picking which campaign the encounter is for. You can attach it to that, so it can really let you know that this group of players would be more easily to defeat something. So maybe you need to throw them out. It does those kinds of calculations based off the players that you have, and what level they're at. And then furthermore, once you've made that encounter, you can run it. You can pop in people's initiatives, automatically roll initiatives for all the monsters, and then you just click next, and you can track damage, you can track healing, you can mark them if they have a status effect. It's so good. It's a one-stop shop for managing a campaign, like campaign encounters, all at your computer. There is an app. It's mostly for players. It's not really that functional for a DM, so I don't recommend the app that much. It's just better for character sheets, and that's essentially about it.
Yeah, frankly, I mean, I downloaded the app to try it out, and it is a great character sheet.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal character sheet.
I will probably use that as my character sheet on my iPad, because it's just super easy that way.
It also has a dice roller, which is really cool, because when you're on your character sheet, if you don't want physical dice, or I don't know, maybe your physical dice are somewhere and you forgot where you put them or what have you, or you're in a location that you're traveling or whatever. If you don't want physical dice, the dice roller is good, because it's not just like pick how many dice you have. You can literally tap on the action that you want to do, and it'll roll the dice appropriately for you. So you don't have to pick things. You don't have to know things. You just have to do the action.
Nice.
And then if it's successful, you can tap that you want to roll damage. So good. If you're rolling a save, roll save and stuff. So D&D Beyond, totally worth it. Not expensive. It's like somewhere between $5 and $8 a month. I don't know. I have a lot of subscription-y things, but it's relatively cheap.
Just note, you will
free
only,
if you're a player.
When you sign up, you will only have access to the base rules, not the player's handbook.
Yeah.
The base rules. If you want access to all the additional content in the player's handbook, you have to buy the books from their service. So even if you own, because one of the things I looked at immediately was like, well, shit, I bought physical copies of get 4 of the books.
Can I import some UPC code or something like that?
And no, they're not officially. They're obviously in partnership with Wizards, but not officially a Wizards.
They're the
thing.
official partner of Wizards of the Coast, not actually Wizards of the Coast. Now, that being said, almost all of their books are at the appropriate, the digital price, the $30 digital price. And again, I would really look for someone that's already using this and has their library, and just join a campaign, because then you get all that stuff for free, because every DM that uses D&D Beyond is buying that stuff over time. Also, you can onesie twosie it with things, so you can buy specific feats or specific races and stuff like that. That's a very inefficient way to go about it, but you could limit your cost that way.
Yeah, and of course, getting a central DM account with you and your friends to all use is another way to save money. If we're going to run 3 games, but different person's going to run each of them. Well, we can all pool our money and just get one meaty account.
Yep.
And there you go.
And you can even make the characters in that DM account and then assign them to the campaign that they're in through a different login. And so I can take all of the characters I've made, which I did for a group because they weren't using D&D Beyond initially. Now they all do, but they weren't using it, so I just made the character so I could manage the thing. I made mirror copies, and then I unassigned those characters to me, sent out the invites, and when they logged in, they saw that there was a character that they could pick to join the campaign, and then that got attached to their account. So that's
Nice.
how you transfer characters in D&D accounts. It's a very kind of backwards way to do it, but in D&D Beyond accounts. It's a kind of a sideways way to do it, but it means that if you're a DM and you want people to use it, you can make your character, give them the campaign invite, and then the person doesn't even have to learn how to build the character in the character builder. They can just enjoy the functionality of the sheet.
Gotcha. So I want to talk about
Probably
its most direct competitor.
Talk about the next level, though, because there's a lot more. D&D Beyond is sort of just like, it was originally just sort of like a resource manager and a character sheet monitor thing, and then it started adding encounters, campaigns, and combat and stuff like that. But you have utilized the. I want to say it's the big big beefy boy right now.
It's the big beefy boy, Roll20.
Yep.
There's a lot of positives about Roll20. Roll20, you can play practically any role-playing game, and if it's not in there, you can make it be in there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work if it's not already there, but you will find a surprising number of RPGs, and not just like really popular stuff. Of course, all the popular games, they're Pathfinder, World of Darkness, Starfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, multiple editions of Dungeons and Dragons. But as a overall tool for running a game, it is absolutely fantastic. It has everything from your character sheets to your books to your battle mat to your encounters. It'll help you. There's a lot of those tools that'll help you build encounters.
Yep, map builders.
And here's the thing. I'm going to put myself on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm probably a 4 when it comes to technical aptitude. I'm certainly not I don't know how to program a VCR type. Oh God, that's a really old reference. It's a really fucking old reference. I work for a tech company, but I am not what you would call a technician.
Yeah.
So I'm not highly technical. The biggest complaint I've heard about Roll20 is that it has a large learning curve. As somebody who's not highly technical, there's no feature I couldn't figure out with 10 minutes of Googling.
Yeah.
Like frankly, I figured out everything about it, how to make my own maps. And that's the one thing I like about it. Yes, you can buy resources. You can spend money.
Yeah, they are.
Roll20.
The Roll20, so Roll20 is very free by comparison to D&D Beyond. But again, like D&D Beyond, if you come in at it free, it's going to throw a lot of challenges at you for money. Unlike D&D Beyond, it's almost a wall on the character creator. You kind of have to get the things to unlock the things. With Roll20, they're like, no, you can use our map builder for free. Go with God. Because you have to import everything on it. And that's not a bad thing. They're giving you the option to use a tool entirely at no cost.
And now they have some online integration. So like amongst the premium assets, when you're doing a search for like, I want them to fight goblins. So I'm gonna put a bunch of goblins on here. I need little goblin figs for my map.
Yeah.
It now natively searches the internet for little figures that are free that you can take that other people have made. I designed my first couple of combats for D&D 5th edition campaign I'm running, and it was super intuitive, and it has some really advanced features if you want to pay for it. I decided after playing around with it for a week, I was like, I'll throw this money. I'll throw $5 a month at it, and I ended up buying a couple books there, so I would have all those options for my players. And like one of the coolest features on the battle mats, they have They have Fog of War that you can put up, so it's the
so good.
So you set your characters up where they're going to start, and the rest of the map is blacked out. They also have a new feature, dynamic lighting, which will take into account what type of racial abilities people have. So if you set a room to be pitch black and a character has dark vision, that particular player will be able to see more in dynamic lighting than a human character would.
It's so good.
And that just, it really makes it does a lot of the things I like to do in my home campaigns that I felt like I couldn't do. For instance, I love playing with sound, and now I have a mechanism. There's a built-in player where you can play sound effects, you can play music. There's a huge library of ambient sound and music to play with, and it allows you to upload your own stuff. Extremely limited storage space for a free account. Much more if you pay for it.
But again, at like $5 a month, that's not a high ask for a tool, especially if you're playing a regular game online right now, which a lot of people are. You're playing 4 to 6 hours of D&D a month. $5 a month is totally worth it for all the functionality you get in that one-stop shop that is Roll20's app.
Yeah, and if you were regularly hosting games and like having a meal, that $5 a month is pretty much what you were already spending on that player who always forgets to bring money for pizza.
Easy.
Michael.
Easy.
I don't actually know.
Direct call.
I don't actually have a player named Michael. I just thought
Michael.
It's just like some guy right now who's a little bit stoned just freaked the fuck out getting
right.
called out. I always love doing that.
Let me think. Yeah, Roll20's good. So anyone that happens to have watched Through the Mill will oftentimes hear at the beginning is like, I hate Roll20's map builder. I hate it. I find it the least intuitive program. I agree with you that nothing in Roll20 can't be solved by Googling it for 10 minutes. I posit that if I have to Google something for 10 minutes, you have failed as an app developer. But I have very high standards for my apps.
Sure.
This is going to segue in very nicely to the next tool I'm going to talk about using. I know, right? I'm all on the segues.
I'm here. I'm ready.
Are you
ready?
ready?
Do it.
Are you ready? So, but before I segue, I just want to say, on Through the Mill, I diss on Roll20 all the time because so many people use it. I don't actually hate Roll20. I just don't use it. I've built a couple maps in it. It's perfectly fine. Skype is a better VoIP software, as is Zoom. Both of those are better at managing voice delay problems, or in my experience, in my case. And then I use things like OBS, and there's other services that I can use to get sounds and stuff in there. That being said, the map builder that I prefer, which recently just solved its big problem between Roll20 and it, that I've grown accustomed to, is a little map builder from a little site called Incarnate. Incarnate is this little site that is managed by, I want to say 2 people. It might be more, but I want to say it's either that or another tool that I'm thinking of. But and Incarnate is a world map builder. Or
my wife uses that.
I use it on all my campaigns. I'm using it on the map that I shared out. That was Incarnate.
I think the campaign map she made for me was in Incarnate.
Yeah.
For the campaign I'm about to run.
It's great. It's easy to use. It's easy to understand. It operates like art programs. It's got layers. It's got coloring. It's got the ability to kind of like gently hue things over it. It's not super complicated. It is limited in the way that it only has so many assets, and then you're done. You can do some stuff with that, but there is a purchasable version that unlocks even more assets. But I would argue that most people, what they need for basic maps and basic understanding is in there and accessible to them without it. And then more importantly, like 2 weeks ago, it added an encounter map builder. And
nice.
Ooh, son, because that has things like, oh, do you want a candle here? Oh, that candle has ambient light on it as an object. So you put it somewhere and it glows in the room. And you're just like, Or you put a window on a wall and it's daytime. So the window on the inside does that. Or if you just want light to come in, you put that down as an object.
Come on, man. I just spent $90 on Roll20.
No, you should. Roll20 is that, because Incarnate, it's one tool. It's one tool. and it's priced like one tool. It's like $5 kind of thing a month. But it's so good, and I am so very much enjoying it as an encounter and as a world map builder. And you should get it. It's like, you should check it out. It's Inkarnate. So INKARNATE.com, and it's easy. You're not going to have to look up how to do anything. They do have a couple videos on their site for some of the more Photoshoppy style things that kind of explain what those mean to people who've never done an art program of any kind before. But for the most part, you're like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, I'm adding land. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I'm just grabbing icons and putting them. Oh, there's a little thing that says size. Oh, that changes the size of the icon, right? It's very, very map making for dummies. And it's cool. They've got filters that you can make it look more like a canvas map or like a drawn map or something super detailed. It's kind of up to you. And they have a bunch of map examples, including ones that people upload that they allow for other people to use in their campaigns.
Nice.
So if you just need a town and you don't want to go through the effort, you can search through and someone will have inevitably made a town, and you can just be like, all right, this is my town.
I love it when those assets are just open sourced like that. I mean, like my first 2 maps on Roll20 are just open source ones I got online. One's a little, this won't air before. Yeah, okay, yeah, I could say it. One's a little farm, and then one's like a cave, and it was perfect. I just searched farm and cave, looked at a bunch of maps, and then just had to match my grid.
Yep.
But I will say, like you said, I mean, Roll20 does have that really big learning curve.
Yeah.
And I will say the tools aren't exactly the most intuitive interface I've used.
Which is fine if you're going to be using something like Roll20 regularly, though, because you're just going to learn it. Like, I use Photoshop. That's not an intuitive program.
Right.
I use Premiere Pro. I had to look everything up on how to do that. So, yeah, like, I complain about it with Roll20 because I'm the easiest little soft boy, and I just want things to be fed to me.
I want the Dark Souls of websites.
Yeah, I don't want that. I want the BioWare circa the Mass Effect trilogy of websites where it's just like, what do you mean dying in this game? You don't die in a BioWare
I wanna click on the wrong spot and lose all my work and just have "You are dead" displayed on my screen. That's what I want out of an experience. No, I don't. Oh God, I do not want that.
That's oh, that would be a good little video. No, the layers, they're all gone. Why does this not autosave its history?
We just hey, here you go, nerds. Here's a nice viral video that I'm not going to make, so you can make it.
So do you
if everything were Dark Souls, there you go.
Do you have other tools that you use for online stuff? Have you used any other tools?
I use basically just chat programs. Beyond that,
what do you chat? What do you chat and call people and use?
I've started using Discord recently.
Yep.
And I use Skype a lot and Google Meet. Just the usual meeting programs.
Do you mind if I call you out a little bit on that Discord?
What's that?
Do you mind if I throw you under the bus a little bit on the Discord?
Uh-oh, what happened?
Nothing that you did, but when we were like, you should get Discord, and you're like, I don't really use Discord that much. Let me get into this.
Yeah.
And everything. And then you're like, this is just IRC chat.
Yeah.
It's just Slack. Discord and Slack are the same thing, and those are the same thing as IRC, which is the same thing as ICQ if you're old like us back in the day. That's all it's chat programs have not changed ever.
At all.
They're just prettier looking. And they have VoIP. And VoIP is a gift. And I guess they have some sort of Giphy bot that's allowing you to GIF response things in that. And that's important too.
Oh, no, I was super resistant. I'm like, I don't want to fucking install something. I need an account for this. Why can't we just use our already existing Gmails?
Yeah.
And, and then I ended up downloading it and using it, and then immediately got onto an Ark Survival Evolved server that uses Discord exclusively for
very good. So it ended up
chatting in game.
Yep.
So like it ended up working out perfectly.
Yeah. It's funny because since I don't play on PC, I had not needed to use Discord for a long time. And then I started doing like Patreons where they'd have like Discord servers for patrons.
Yeah.
And then I had a game, and everyone that I had invited to one of the games that I currently run to start, I was like, what do you want to coordinate in? And a couple of them didn't have Facebook, and some of them didn't really like want to use like Gmail or anything like that, or GChat or anything. And so they're like, well, what about just Discord? And I was the only person in that group that hadn't done Discord, so it was the same thing for me where I'm like, and I downloaded it, and I knew what it was because someone's like, it's just Slack, but like casual and everything. And then I pulled it down, and I was like this. But Discord is very nice, and it's up to 8 people in a group chat for free, which is every D&D game. Like if you have more than 8 people in your D&D campaign, if you happen to have made the decision to have more players in your campaign than freaking Critical Role, which arguably has too many players in it, oh my god, just I can't help you. Or just go to Skype. Skype will do it.
I used to be of the philosophy is like cramming as many friends as I can get to hang out into a campaign, where I used to run like 7 or 8 person campaigns. I have been running a 4-person campaign, and it is, honest to goodness, some of the best times I've had running games in a long time.
Why do you think our podcast is 3 players?
I know.
And a DM. Like
I was like,
so
is 4 gonna be enough? Like,
yeah. It's so much easier to run 4 people. It's cooler. And
they feel more like assholes for splitting the party, which is makes it nice for me.
Well, like in a 6-person campaign, you almost inevitably split the party to just focus on people. And in a 4-person campaign or a 3-person campaign, you would never split that party up unless you were putting them in a dangerous spot or they're deliberately doing it. And then it's like this heightened drama moment where everything's super dangerous. But if I split my current, if anyone watches Through the Mill, that party splits up all the live long day and everything. And that's fine. I deliberately present situations where they're going to inevitably split up. I just foolishly tried to run 5 concurrent combats or 4 concurrent combats at the same time with the party split with different groups of NPCs, which I use D&D Beyond to heavily use and OBS to stream it. And I used Photoshop for my battle maps. Because I know Photoshop.
Why do you do these things, Steve? Why do you hurt yourself?
It was reckless. So that's on Twitch now if people want to see how to run 4 concurrent fighting things where all of your players were spread out, and then you had different NPCs helping out different players, and you made the smart decision to make all but 2 monsters across all of the combats unique. I'm such a fool. My hubris, but they got through it and it was fine and it did what it needed to do. Discord's pretty good. I prefer, if I'm doing VoIP chat, I prefer Roll20 has a video chat in it, doesn't it? Yeah. So if you're not using Roll20, video chat, I tend to use Skype only because I broadcast. Through the Mill's broadcast, and Skype is NDI interfaceable, which means that OBS can see a Skype call as different separate video feeds, and I can move the boxes around and make it pretty. Zoom is also fine. I don't like Zoom's camera controls or lack thereof. By comparison, I use Discord for one of my other groups. We just chat in Discord. We did our episode 0 in Discord, so it was fine. If you're not broadcasting your game, Discord is, and you're not using Roll20, just use Discord. It's free. It's what everyone uses, and then you're gonna find out there's a whole bunch of chat rooms you've been missing out on if you don't use it yet.
Yeah,
because there's a ton.
Another friend of mine swears by is it Tabletop Simulator on
Tabletop Simulator is pretty good.
And Board Game Simulator, which can be used for some tabletop RPG stuff. I mean, obviously much more geared towards board games, but you can port pretty much anything into it. Mm-hmm. And I think that those games and systems that give you a ton of tools to play with are going to be your best bet, especially things that have native chat built in. So, I mean, like those both run through Steam. So, I mean, you just have your built-in Steam chat. I highly recommend when gaming from home to continue that human interaction thing.
Yeah.
Always use video chat.
Try to use video chat where you can.
Even if you're not like me and I run my games based a lot off of how my players are reacting. So I like to see their faces. I like to see their body language as I'm playing with them. Even if you're not one of those people, it's still good because it creates that same semblance of being in the room together, as close as you can get in quarantine, frankly. Because it's hard to get 4 households together. Like one of the players in my Sunday game is a pharmacist. He just can't be around people right now. He is always exposed.
Yeah.
So he gets a chance to see all his friends. He does something. Another thing I really like is you can do is playing role play servers of games. He has a extremely modded Minecraft game going that has this mod that basically turns it into old school EverQuest. And then has
brings back the memories,
and then has all voice chat based role playing as the avatars, and apparently it's a deep role play server.
Yep.
And that can be a good way if you're not quite comfortable with running a game. Like I wasn't initially comfortable running a game online. A lot of my games fell apart because I didn't want to learn the tools, or I just didn't have the time to learn the tools.
There's other benefits, and I've only done this through D&D 5th edition, but there's other benefits. You were talking about Roll20. I use Photoshop, and I just share it on the thing. And people can see that on Through the Mill, but I do it as well in my other games.
Screen sharing is powerful, and almost everything can do it.
Yeah. But so having miniatures and a battlefield and stuff like that, there's a barrier of entry there. Grabbing a battle map, especially if you're not broadcasting your game, so you're just using a battle map, right? You're just using whatever you get your hands on the internet. Grabbing a battle map and putting some tokens on it in a Roll20, 1,000% cheaper and easier to set up. It's so easy. And so learning that mechanic, taking a little bit of time, taking like the 30 minutes or so to learn how to do it on Roll20 or whatever you're going to use, Tabletop Simulator or what have you, suddenly you're going to realize how awesome it is to have tokens and maps. And in a game like 5th edition, you're going to really begin to understand why like movement and range and shape, all of these things matter a lot more than any of us who grew up just playing Theater of the Mind tabletop. And it makes the battles more dynamic. It makes them more exciting. It makes casters have more things. It makes rangers and rogues and different classes with different movement speeds like really come into play there. And also you'll discover something else I discovered, which is when you're looking at battle maps, which I tend to pull as many battle maps as I can from various patron things. A lot of them will have a subscription level where you can sign up and you can get all their back battle maps. So whereas I might not be comfortable with the idea of monthly subscribing to one, I can give them that 1 month that's supposed to give me everything beforehand, and then take that as like paying for a map pack.
Yeah,
and then doing that. And that's my favorite way to do that. But a lot of times I'll be going through them and I'll be like, that's fucking cool. And now I got to get to that in my campaign. Now this has affected the narrative. I want to get to there. I want my players to fight on that battle map. And so I will make something story-wise to get them to that battle map. And so that tool is interesting. I wanted to bring up another one. I wanted to bring up another tool that we're going to be using for the podcast game.
Oh, yeah?
There's something, and you'll have seen it sponsor some YouTube videos and everything because they go hard. This is the thing that I was thinking about that are literally staffed by
Raycon headphones.
Raycon headphones. If you want premium sound but not at the same price, Raycon headphones have some of the best low-end and high-end frequencies with noise-canceling microphone technologies in a much more comfortable, stylish
You have listened to a fucking 1,000 ads for that by now, haven't you? Man, Ray J went hard.
And you know, it worked. I know it.
We are talking about it.
I have to buy new headphones because my USB-C no longer provides headphone functionality on my Samsung Note 10, and I was like, maybe those were. I literally looked up how much they were, so that hella worked.
Okay, which YouTuber am I going to give money to for this?
Yeah. Who am I going to go through? World Anvil. World Anvil is the best, in my opinion, way to manage campaign notes. Now, it can be very inexpensive to extremely expensive to use. It's kind of up to you. There's obviously a point that I'm going to be using it for that I don't think a lot of world makers are. But if you go to the cheaper side of things, it's under $4 or it's under $5 a month. You go to the cheaper side of things. Here's what World Anvil does. Number one, it's basically like a wiki builder for your world, which there are free services that do this. Mm-hmm. But it's built with the idea that you're making an RPG world. So, character import pages, worlds, it actually walks you through forms. It asks you questions about it. You're like, I'm making a region article. And you're like, is this a country? And you're like, yeah, okay, so it's a country. All right, who are the politicians? Who are the politicians? What's the history of this world? What's the combat?
That's dope.
What's the main goal of it? And it prompts you the questions you should be asking yourself as a world builder. You don't have to fill them all out, and it doesn't onesie-twos them. It's in like a big article form, so you can skip through and scroll down as you get more comfortable. At appropriate levels. I'm not sure specifically what level. A lot of this functionality is basic, but I know certain things are behind higher subscription paywalls. It has things like importing, all of your own images and art and stuff.
Oh, wow.
It has things like it allows you to make a map or take a map, import it, then put pins on it, then put the titles on those pins, and you click on that pin, it opens up the article to what that is. And then in that article, because it's a wiki, you can hyperlink all of your proper subjects. And if you mention the politician and you've written an article about the politician, it just automatically understands that's a named person, and that's a linkable, clickable thing. It is so effective at giving you what you need as a DM on a thing. And then my favorite thing, and this is what sold me on it, I can decide how much my players see of any given article, not as a group, but individually. So I could write a history of a region, and Ron's player would only know very little about it. So I can highlight it. And it's not by section, it's literally by whatever I highlight. So I can highlight different sections, and they only see those pieces of it. And then someone else that knows more about that region could click on it, and they would see more on their login, and then I would see all of it because I did it. You can have co-authors. I could let Ron write out his entire character's backstory and then make that part of the lore of the history of the world and give him access to that. I can do that. All of it's done. World Anvil is so uniquely feature-rich and built for this. I cannot suggest it enough.
Nice.
So I highly recommend it as a functional build for any game master, but it's game master specific. Players do not need this, but as a person that runs a lot of D&D games and tabletop games in general, it's like I would love it if every wiki program had like these kinds of logics behind their templates and was like, oh, you're doing like a wiki that's about like a show. No. Are you doing an episode article? What's the title? What's the this? What's the this?
How many seasons? How many episodes?
What season? Yeah, that kind of thing. And so, but yeah, it's a 2-person outfit that programs the whole thing. So all of that money just goes to them. They have tons of tutorial videos, tons of assets. It's dope. And you just know what type of, you can do a custom one, but they also have a lot of templates for what kind of campaign are you running? So what system are you running in? So if you're running in World of Darkness, it'll be like, okay, you select that, and then it kind of preps the wiki to make sense for that a little bit.
Awesome. And I want to end on we talked about a lot of tools. And I want everybody to remember, though, that the strongest tool when it comes to role-playing is your mind.
I thought you were going to say friendship.
Friendship's fine too, I guess. Fucking people.
We're both DMs. We don't have friends. We have people we want to kill at the table. No, that's.
But we talked about theater of the mind, and if you are missing role playing and you don't want to get into these big systems we talked about, you're feeling intimidated, like I honestly did. I missed playing games with my friends, so what I did was called a bunch of people up and I said, "Hey, let's all hop on a video call. Pick your service." And let's just role play. I'm going to write out a little scenario. I'm going to roll 1d6 to determine the outcome of things. And that's all it's going to be. But it's mostly just going to be a role play experience. And let's just have some fun. if you are missing that experience, it does not take much. You literally can just do a communal storytelling exercise with your friends online. And that can scratch an itch that, you may be missing in your life in quarantine, because it's a bummer being locked inside and not getting to see all the people you normally get to see. So don't think just because you don't know how to use the tools, you're not very tech savvy, that you are completely locked out of these experiences. You can still role play. You can still have fun. You just have to find the way and the medium that works best for you. And sometimes that's as simple as a video call. So don't be intimidated. Go out there and continue to role play. See people, because right now, especially with the current climate of the world, like, seeing people and having fun and making memories is so important. So use that mind, use that creativity that we all have. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a creative person. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it on that hyper positive note.
And if you don't have friends, just watch Dimension 20.
They will feel like your friends.
You will get parasocial as fuck with that pretty goddamn quick.
And now I just want to hug Brennan Lee Mulligan when it's safe to hug strangers again.
Yep, right.
He's brought me so
I'm
much
gonna
joy.
fly to a convention he's at. That's what's gonna happen.
One of the best DMs alive.
Yep.
I don't like watching other people play D&D. I will watch Brennan Lee Mulligan run a fiasco game he put together in 5 minutes. I don't care. I will watch that guy run shit.
I'm confident it will be great. But that's about it. There's more tools online, Fantasy Grounds, other things. And so just go dig around, look it up. And don't be afraid also to look at other streaming and functioning things and the tools that they use, because there's a lot of tools that are used for like gaming streams, like video game streams and stuff like that could punch up a D&D game.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you for checking us out. If you want more of me and Steve, you can check us out. You can check him out on Dying of Exposure.
Yep.
You'll see me on some stuff soon. More stuff soon on Dying of Exposure.
See you.
Yeah. You'll see the. There's the YouTube channel, the Facebooks, the Twitters, all the things. Yep. They got all the social media. We're a little more minimalist at The Roles We Play, therolesweplay.podbean.com or facebook.com/therolesweplay. Always would love to hear from you and tell us what you think of the show. We appreciate the handful of comments we've gotten. The YouTube comments have still remained so nice. Thank you so much. It's always just positive niceness. We appreciate it.
Y'all have a good gaming session. Go find your people out there. And figure out some tools online to kind of play around with it. Or don't, and just chat over VoIP. Mm-hmm. That's fine, too.
And if you don't have a lot of people you can play with, Roll20 and D&D Beyond both have find campaign functions.
Yep. Every tool we've talked about pretty much has it. And if you go into Discord, you can just type in looking for group, and minus a couple sexual ones, for the most part, it will be tabletoppers.
Just look into what type of group you're getting into first.
Yep, exactly.
All right, thanks everybody for listening or watching. I am Ron for Steve and the Roles We Play. I will play myself out.